Hello. Hi, Darya.
Hi.
I am
Hi, Shar.
I am so happy you're here. Thank you for being here today on Real Medicine Talks and with us and with my students and with me. I'd like to introduce everyone to Dr. Darya Fuentes. And Dr. Darya is a visionary leader and educator in organizational development, transformation, the use of self as transformer, use of self as transformer for leaders, for change agents, and people from all walks of life. She's a developer of the concepts and tools that comprise the REAP Unlimited system for transformation. As an innovator, she is laying foundations for Indigenous organizational development as a resource for community empowerment and true freedom, integrating science, ancient wisdom, and systems theory to create a world of good beyond racism and other forms of oppression, limitation, and separation. She is an architect of transformational strategies, experiences aligned with inspirational missions, visions, and goals as she works in tune with the souls of systems. I love that, Darya, the souls of systems. Individuals and communities who are her clients, having worked as an organizational leader and board chair for organizations faced with transformational goals, she is familiar with the opportunities and challenges facing the WCGMF. Her systems, yes, her system of work was, what's that?
That's enough about me.
No. This is so great. And I have a few more things I need to say about you because you're just so fabulous. But just one more. No, her system of work was inspired by insights about outmoded ways of working to eliminate and educate organizations on institutional racism and sexism in the 1970s and 80s. So spearhead. Recently, she's founded a new initiative called Circle America, which is super exciting. Citizens Initiative on Racism co-creates leadership for equity in America. It's so gorgeous. And you're also a wisdom keeper, and you're an amazing writer, and you're a poet, and you're a medicine person. You're an incredible storyteller. And so it is just my holy privilege to have you here and to have you with me. I'm like, I just want to do all of the things. I just have to say all of the things about you, my friend. So,
oh my goodness.
You're amazing. You are amazing. And I'm so honored and privileged that you're here with us today. So I was wondering, I always have this curiosity about what medicine means to you. And there's so many different forms of medicine and kinds of medicine, but for me, it's that wholeness and healing. And so I'm curious to begin our conversation in that way, if that works.
Well, it's interesting. Before, growing up, I just thought of it, medicine is whatever the remedy is, whatever the remedy is that somebody has, it could be in the front yard, it could be in the backyard, it could be in the it could be in the cabinet in the house that you take to prevent something, rather than my mother would line us up and we take different things, these natural remedies, you take this stuff, and not that you were sick, but you took it so you wouldn't be sick, and things that would boost your immune system, or so it's just like, take your medicine, take that which remedies or prevents. It's either going to get to you before you got a crisis, or it's going to come to you after you're in crisis. But it keeps, it's that which keeps us in balance in some way, And then when I started working with and learning from people within Indigenous medicine and ways in this country, then I learned first that, well, the real medicine people are the plant people, the real medicine people is the plant nation, and so that was the real medicine people are the plant people. And I thought, well, okay, because, I was thinking the medicine could be in the front yard, it could be in the backyard,
Yeah.
right? It could be around you. And I began to recognize that the things that I think we need are mostly around us, wherever if we decided to, stay over here near this rock or this mountain or these trees, there's something in that field that's for whatever we want or need for balance.
Oh, my friend, that's really powerful. Just thinking.
And that's real medicine. I mean, it's right. It's where where spirit led me to be, where I put down roots for the moment, wherever that is, that there's something there to remedy or prevent, whatever I need. So I think that's real medicine. I mean, we talk about medicine people. I never refer to myself as a medicine person, but I think we also all have, in that sense, medicine, because we have the powers and gifts that Creator gave us, that are within us, that we come here with. And we may take them for granted, we may ignore them, we may not recognize them, but we all have some powers and gifts that, just like the plant that's outside my front door that knows I'm, allergic to whatever, if I got stung by a wasp, that it might not be, a good day for me, but I could go out there and chew this piece of plant, right? Or put it on that and put it on that spot, right? So
Dry out it's that medicine, that the remedy. I love what you're saying about the remedy, and and
or the preventer.
Yeah.
Or the preventer, each one.
Yeah, the prevention or the remedy. And yeah, I mean, I think also of plants as I love that you said that, but I also think of them as like expressions, like full expressions of the earth. These
Yes.
expressions of like how the earth can express herself, and such a beautiful
Yes.
way. And
Just different arrangements, right? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Different arrangements of the earth. Yeah.
I'm so excited. And so we're talking about healing, and we were talking about COVID, and we're in this time of COVID, and it's pretty complex, my friend. I mean, it's complex in so many ways, but I know you're a teacher and a leader, and you're doing all of this incredible work in this time of COVID, and we were talking about how the time of COVID has surfaced all of these other times. And I was curious about your thoughts around what learnings does COVID have for us, or what are we learning? What are we learning? They have to teach us.
So many things, right? Aren't we? First of all, we can see COVID as something. I don't know. Have we had as big of a transformation in our society, in the world of work, and so many other systems since refrigeration? My goodness. I mean, or since the computer. It's just like, yeah. I mean, for one thing, it's changing people's perceptions of work. It's changing their, willingness and preferences about how they work and what they do and with whom they work. It's changing relationships because of the politics and perception and identity, issues that are getting raised in relationship to COVID. It's making certain inequities that have always been there. When I say always, I don't mean from the beginning of time. I mean, for the last few hundred years have been here, making certain inequities visible.
Yeah.
More visible to people who, for any of us who are willing to look and see, it's making some of the inequities in our healthcare system visible.
Yeah.
We're seeing so many things in that regard. And I think also some of us are discovering that even though some people thought in the beginning that, this wasn't real or it wasn't affecting their population. It was more affecting people in cities or, I've talked with people who thought, well, it's affecting people who aren't in good health, people who haven't been taking care of themselves, or it would be like, seeing a pool of dead fish, right? And saying that they all ate the wrong thing. Or, they didn't exercise. And if
Right.
you
Yeah.
go back,
Yeah.
so I saw that in a, that reference or that analogy um, given by a group that has analyzed these things pretty thoroughly, and I thought, oh, the groundwater group. And I thought, oh, that's a very good analogy. But the one of the things that because I had COVID, I had a really positive spiritual experience with it, though the experience of COVID itself, I will not refer to as, something that you want to invite, right? But
Outside next to
not
the
at all.
plant.
Let me, let me be clear. I'm not saying, oh yes, let me go on a COVID journey so I can have this spiritual experience. I'm sure, but what Spirit did do is use this as an opportunity to do some, to just accelerate some of my rearrangement. I feel like I'm always evolving. We're always growing for higher and higher consciousness. I'm always making more commitment and to that evolution and to living by spiritual law, to make those commitments, not just what we agree to do, not just what I'm conscious of, but more importantly, the unconscious part. And I think that's a significant part of what happened with me in COVID. There was just more rearrangement to what I've been teaching about it and talking about it, is as the God program. Whether we were talking Kasha love, whether we're talking Buddha, whether we're talking Jesus, whether we're talking Yahweh, Oldamare, however we're talking about it, I am teaching about it as the God program. So, so to take that in, to me, that would be another example of real medicine for us to walk with the unconscious consciousness of spiritual law. It's one thing to learn the spiritual law and to do my best to apply the spiritual laws of the traditions I hold dear, but it's another thing for it to be driving my unconscious, So, and that's the kind of rearrangement I had during my weeks and, during my COVID spell. I mean, they were, having those conversations about that level and having some things rearranged. So that everything can sync,
Yeah.
We live in tech times. We want our, whatever. We want our phone syncing with whatever program. My phone program is not syncing with my laptop Zoom program or my contacts or not, whatever that language is, right? So everything syncing.
Yeah. I love that. And I love what you're saying about it's a spiritual program. One of the things I love about your right? About your REAP program is that it's the school of universal law, So it's just like, and I just love that. It's just like, and so, here we are in this, as you're teaching from your school of universal law, there's this spiritual transformation that we're being called to do. And I see it, Darya, I also see it as we're being asked to transform socially. We're being asked to transform consciously. We're being asked to transform globally. We're being asked to transform with our climate. We're being asked to transform our behaviors,
Exactly. Mhm.
Yeah. And so I just think, I think that, you know, Araceli Dominguez, my precious friend, and who's a
Mhm.
shaman.
I've
And
met her.
well, yes,
Yes.
you know Araceli, the two of you have met, and you know, and we've been having conversations about this also. And you know, I love what she says. She says, you know, COVID is a part of the earth,
Mhm.
and just like everything else, you know, and that
Mhm.
COVID is teaching us, you know, it's
Mhm.
teaching us something really important, many things that are very important. And I think that there are many spiritual practices, but I also see many spirits leaving bodies, right? So COVID also has, there's a lot of spirits that are also separating from their bodies. So there's a lot of, I mean, there's a spiritual learning that's embodied, but there's also the spiritual
Mhm.
learning that is leaving the body, or the body and the soul are being separated, but those souls are going. And I wonder about that. I'm curious about that. That's yeah.
Well, it's striking, if we look at impact and perception about it, that, like I said, in some people it's not in their life. When I had COVID, I had some people that I knew who were asking me, um, well, I don't really think it's real, and I don't know anybody that's died of COVID. Do you? I don't think it's real, and and that's, and that's a certain, mindset that some people held. And I was like, yes, I do know people who are dying. And so
Yeah.
I think part of it points to what is available and how some of us are treated in healthcare systems.
Right.
Some of it also points to what, what's going on for a population of people who, um, what's part of their contract. We never know what's part of it's not just an individual phenomenon. When you turn and look and see a group phenomena, or the impact being very distinctly different for different groups, then you have to ask a different question than, oh, did all these individuals have the same contract, or is there something else that this is a byproduct of,
Yeah.
in hospitals, and et cetera. For Black women, for example, we're often perceived as, super strong, but we don't necessarily get taken at face value when we describe what's going on with our bodies and healthcare systems,
Mhm.
you know, people, and that happens with other groups too,
Yeah.
that, you know,
Mhm.
that medicine world may look at you like you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know your body, et cetera. So there are some things that are getting shown up for us in our systems, I think, with COVID. And it would be, even though individual consciousness matters a tremendous amount and has a tremendous opportunity for us to impact certain things, and that's the journey we're all on as individuals, it would be a mistake to ignore, what's happening that's different, with or similar with different nations of people and different groups of people. So I do see that there are a lot of people, a lot of souls choosing to leave, a lot of it, it, a lot of contributions in that process to what's not working in our systems.
Mhm.
You wouldn't believe, I mean, some of the things, some of the stories that people tell in New York, all over the country, not just in New York, but about what the first several months of COVID, that was something. There were people dying and they didn't know who they were, and families were trying to reach their loved ones or find them, and they could call a hospital, and the morgue didn't talk to this
Right.
department or to that. The overwhelming, and the systems were overwhelmed. I mean, so all of this is happening so I think it is it is a wake-up call, along with a number of the other wake-up calls we had in 2020, and that make us aware at a level that, we just don't carry that kind of collective group consciousness where we are aware of ourselves more collectively.
Right. Yeah.
In a truthful way, and I think that
Yeah. And an honest
that
way.
those souls exiting are contributing to that awareness, to helping to wake us up.
Darya, thank you. That's, yeah, helping to wake us up. That's interesting. And so I think about, what are some of the ways that you found to assist with the transformations that are needed? What transformations are needed? I think about the transformations that are needed, which is the conversation that we're in, but how can you see, us all participating because that's, of course, your great gift as a transformational leaders. How can you see us transforming together the collaborative power of Circle America?
Well, I think it all starts with us as individuals. We have to, see in some way, we have to see the country in us. We have to see the nation in us. We have to see that group, this group who looks separate from us in us. And then we, and we also need to be able to put ourselves and see ourselves in these other places and spaces and groups, as opposed to I'm in my bubble over here and I don't know anyone, affected by COVID, therefore it doesn't exist. Or, it may not have gotten to your geography yet, but,
but it's on its way. No.
Right.
It's on its way. It packed its bags. It's already, on the plane.
And you've left the door open,
The train, the plane, the automobile, however it arrives, in a basket, whatever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, but so transformation always includes, the healing also of whatever is here that's broken. It's like, again, the medicine of, the remedy. Because our perception sometimes really narrows what we see or how we can even talk about it. So there's so much that has to be contributed on that level for us to even have a collective view of the current state of what's going on. I heard somebody say the other day, well, the rule of civilizations it was in a movie, it's always been that whoever gets there first makes the rules. And I'm like, no, and when I'm like, no, that's in the movie, the Help. That's one of the, not The Help, in Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures, the role that Kevin Costner played. He makes that statement arguing to, in a hearing to fund the NASA program. And it's kind of a justification to, let's make sure we get, because whoever gets there first in space, or whoever gets there first to the moon, or whoever gets there first to whatever that current target was at the time, gets to make the rules. And I'm saying, now when someone says something like that and people nod their heads and agree, they're not talking about Black, Indigenous, or people of color, or even women. Right. Okay, so
nobody's included in that conversation.
But everybody can shake their heads, because whatever the unconscious belief about, competition, who gets there first can be the dominant and they can make the rules. But that was not the spirit or the law with which, this nation came in and took everybody's land and moved everybody around. They're not talking about. So that's all I'm saying that to say is identity and perception are so powerful.
Right.
And in transformation, we have to begin to, at a minimum, remember, the union, remember when we were one, and then begin to stop talking as if we have no relationship or connection to all these other groups that we may not agree with.
Right. Right. Yes. And that's something that I've seen also with one of the things that I do in my courses is I don't, we follow the CDC rules, and then we have a conversation about what, because especially as we're coming into groups in person again, in schools, it's what is your comfort level with this and this and this and this, and how people can have the most different opinions, but the more that everyone talks, and I really open the floor because I'm not the decider of things. They are the decider of their things, Everybody gets to decide their own thing. And then together we, create something. But what I've noticed is that, boy, someone can say something and I'm just like, wow, that's such an interesting perspective. And then I learn, I shift, I move in another direction that I wouldn't normally have moved because I've really heard this other person and their perspective, their view, their needs around this specific issue. But
Right.
Yeah. So I've really learned a lot. I'm reaching for my little thing so I can put my paper down because I don't think we really need it anymore. But one of the things, yeah, I've noticed that, my friend. And so I'm wondering, about, the co-creation.
Yes, that's one of the principles that governs my system of work is the co-creation principle. And
Yeah.
so, and that is not just a collaboration, though. I think it's an act of co-creating with spirit. Okay, so as an expression of spirit. So I'm back to the spiritual program, to the God program. Okay.
Oh.
So I think that's an important part of what we're looking at. And there are lots of groups doing conversations where they are looking for that opportunity for having different conversations with people they normally would not be in conversation with, right, in order to increase awareness and possibly action. And because for me, it really depends on what you think transformation is. And one of the things for over 30 years I've been teaching is that it's not just an incremental change, or not just a question of me having some awareness and taking some action. It's also about something being fundamentally new in the reality that I'm living in. So something shifts in my consciousness and unconsciousness, right, more subconscious, yeah, with transformation in the subconscious. So although I know that in a classroom, you can at best be committing to, okay, we may change our behaviors, or have some collective agreement about behavior, right? And that's true in organizations too. You can have come to some agreements about behavior. But many years ago, the whole notion was, okay, I'm at work or I'm at school, you can tell me how I need to behave, but get your hands off my attitude. You don't have any rights to talk about my assumptions or my beliefs or my attitude. That used to be the notion. Yet we're all using this word transformation, and transformation does have something to do with
everything to do with our attitude.
It has everything to do with your assumptions and your attitude and your
everything. Okay. Your biases. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're using these words, but again, it's not sinking. So we're not sinking.
Yeah. And I think, my friend, I mean, I wonder, I know for me, I have a deep personal commitment,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have such a deep personal commitment, and also to better myself and to, to change myself and transform myself. But also, I wonder, you know, what are the ways that you engage people who don't have a deep personal commitment? Do you think there are
Well, I
ways?
think, well, they may have a deep personal commitment, but it may not be to the transformation that you're interested in, you know? They may not be,
Fucking real.
they may not be interested, may be interested in transforming from, their income bracket to another one. They may be interested in, transforming their family, to another, state of existence as well, but they're not necessarily interested in, you know, dismantling racism or dismantling other kinds of isms that they don't necessarily see as affecting them. And I don't know about you, but my experience is when people can see how something is affecting them, and it's not just an issue, it's not just that group's issue, then there's something different to be explored. And like even in conversations about, not just conversations, but in deeper work about racism or systemic racism, I'm talking, not just, not people's just personal prejudices. I'm talking about structural and systemic racism. People will say things like, well, they don't really, they don't appreciate being labeled as, or what they read or study, they think they're being labeled as something bad, if they are not Black, Indigenous, or people of color. They think they're, if they're white, they think they're being, or European American, they think they're being labeled as bad or negative. But if I talk to a woman about sexism, she can relate in many cases
right
away. So it just depends on, and then that understanding or relationship to it, then can give her a basis for looking at the dynamic across cultures and race, right? But when people don't, this is not their issue, there's not much for them to connect to. It's not, they don't see it as their issue. They see maybe themselves being misunderstood and disconnected from this issue. They don't think of themselves as privileged, or they're having their own struggles. I mean, so they don't connect to the language that's being used, but but can, but when they begin to think about or look at things related to our nation, that may make a big difference. That may make them more aware, because a lot of people just don't think that racism has anything to do with them if they're not from a group that is directly affected. They don't see themselves as directly affected. Right. Yeah. But we all are. We all are. The country is. So I think it is a question of us, kind of lifting our blinders and digging deeper into the uncomfortable areas, and sitting with the discomfort and talking to people who are like us and exploring, our experience of this, so I mean, it's a real kind of sobering thing, when we have, when we like the ideals and the idea of this country, right? And we believe in those ideals, even if those ideals were not created with us in mind.
Right. Right.
So,
issues and issues. Yeah, we run into issues and issues and issues that,
even if they weren't created with us in mind, so but if you can connect to that. Speaking of which, do we give a shout out? Tomorrow is Veterans Day. Do we give a shout out to our
veterans?
To our veterans and our warriors. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Oh, thank you, Daria. Yes, my mother is a veteran, so thank you, Mama, for your service. Shout out to my
And
mom.
such a warrior she is.
Oh, she is an
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She is something. Yeah, yeah.
She
So,
is something. I don't know if you think that that what I was talking about really connects to what you were asking. You were asking about the people who don't see this as who don't want to a transformation, or who don't want to transform.
I think
Did
I think
did
it
my
touched
response?
on it. Yeah, I think it touched.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it did, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, one of the things that you spoke about is being in the conversation and staying with the discomfort, and but also one of the things I think is just to, one of the things I found is just simply stating the truth, and just saying, wow, thank you for sharing that, but that's actually not true, or just keep
Mm-hmm.
it very simple, like actually that person needs to speak their mind just like you do, but that's great. One of the things that I'll bring into my groups often is just sharing about, where are you dominating the conversation, or where are you being dominant in your life, and how can you, like, knock it the fuck off. No, I don't say it, knock it the fuck off. Actually, I probably do, but but how about if you step back so others can step forward, especially those of us, even those of us who are mixed race, who are white bodied, that we have, I think, a special responsibility, an important responsibility. To that, and to recognize our own privilege, and also to recognize that we have this opportunity, this gift and holy privilege of bridging, in our own bodies, but also in our own families, and our between families and cultures, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think that that's another medicine that we carry, is just that ability to be a bridge,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
unexpected
Because it's
places.
yes, absolutely, absolutely, and that's part of the work. I think that's part of the job. We often talk about, in healing worlds, and in some of the worlds of traditional ways, talk about not mixing medicines,
Mhm.
and that always brings a smile to my face, because I can definitely appreciate, not um, mixing ceremonies,
Yeah, yeah.
but I can appreciate that for sure. But I laugh when I think about, if I take the definition of medicine pretty far to where we're talking about it now, as your own gifts and powers and body and blood. I mean, we're talking that now.
Yeah, and
When I
talent,
said, well, somebody should have told Creator about that when they made me, right?
yeah. Right? Right? Yeah. I mean, just like spectacular, amazing. Yeah,
you know, should have
blending.
told Creator not to mix medicines when they made you, right?
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God, I love that, Darya. Like, yes, they definitely mixed medicines when they made you. They mixed medicines when they made me. That's
Exactly. I said
really
it had to be a committee. It couldn't have been just one tradition, right? That was
right.
up there making the shaping and doing the clay, and and coming
Yes.
up with the crystal hearts, and, and sprinkling sprinkling dust, and everything. It had to
Right?
be.
Right? And the special place you go to conceive, and then that, yeah, and then all the conceptions
All that.
thereafter, and all the things we
Yeah.
conceive of. Oh my God, Darya. Mixing some medicines. Ooh, that's so good. That's so good. Of course, we would never do that.
Well, we wouldn't be mixing the ceremony,
Right.
but 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 there's it depends on how you expand the notion of medicine. So if we're talking about those things that are inherently within us, they're certainly mixed.
Oh, it's so true.
The gifts, the blood, the. Mhm.
And one of the things that is healing and a medicine, like a prayer for me, is poetry. And you're such a
Mm.
gifted poet. And I don't know if you would have a poem for us this evening that might
Um,
touch in on.
I, well, I have one, I have two actually, but we probably have time for a short one. Let me, um, hmm, this is a recent one, so it's like in mid craft,
Oh,
right?
beautiful. Well, what a privilege. Thank you for Will.
It's, I don't consider them done till I've, uh, looked at them again. This is in progress. Um, for this land today, for the ancestors who sing from the hills across the field from where I live, and for the blood that is on the ground, for the warriors who came in first and were last to leave, and for the descendants who carry their ways and deeply listen to catch and retrieve their sounds. The least I can do is to spin this rare, precious, and timely wind, to stand on this rare, precious, and sacred earth and fling open the gateways as the leaders, the seekers, and the learners march in. The least I can do is spin this rare, precious, and timely wind. Yes, the least I can do is to spread spirits' whispers and shake souls' hands reaching out from unexpected places and spaces throughout this precious land. The least I can do is to spin this rare, this precious, and timely wind.
So
there
beautiful,
are these there are
Darya.
these powerful winds up here, and I have heard the ancestors of this land
Mm.
sing from the hills out here, and don't know the land of the Cowlitz Nation, which is this is Cowlitz land, and but it's a holy privilege to be here on this land, and you've been here,
I
and it was
love
a privilege to have you and your people be here. Yes.
it's an honor to be there. That it is safe, yes,
Mm.
sacred. Such a holy privilege to be there, Darya. Yeah, thank you. I look forward to coming soon. Hmm.
There was something about the warriors that in one of, and I'm not going to sing today, but in one of the songs, the first line is, if you translate it in English, it's it's saying, "My friend, the enemy is coming,"
Mm.
and I think that perspective speaks to what we were just talking about, and it's it's a song that honors the Kichita and other veterans. Um,
Oh,
uh, Not that those are two different things, but related. Okay,
right, right.
but who honors those? But who honor a song that honors veterans, a song that's sometimes sung to honor the Kichita. And I'm thinking, my friend, the enemy, is coming.
Mm,
You know, and
mm.
because counting coup, for example, is not the time that we're out there trying to kill each other. It's a time we're showing what? Bravery, honor, respect.
Mm. Yeah, and that's and
So
that. Go ahead, Darya.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, it just made me think of what Noah Longcrane used to say. When you're going somewhere sacred, you would say, "Oh, someone is coming, someone is coming, someone is coming with a humble heart." you know.
Mm.
So there's like,
Mhm.
you know, how to come with a humble heart to our enemy friends, our friend enemies.
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
because that's, yeah, word wise, I know I speak about this in one of my poems. It's the inner me. The enemy is I also have the inner me as the enemy, right?
Jesus,
And
Darya, you're
so,
so fucking brilliant. Oh my God. I can't
and
take it.
so the inner me, no, the inner me, I have to look around in there and do some healing work. You're talking
So
about the transformation.
true.
It always starts with me, right? And so there's that inner me
Wow. In
that is some of which is, I'm sabotaging myself and I'm sabotaging, my own, or I'm either walking out my vision or I'm not, or both, or combination. Um, so
wow.
in what way am I malware in my own, God program, right? Or my spiritual, right? So, you know, you know how they give you these little warnings, vicious attack, there are
Totally.
these, they give you these, these virus protection programs, they give you vicious attack coming,
Oh
we find it, well,
my God.
there's, I look to the left, I look to the right, and there's inner me, right?
Yeah,
So,
totally.
so
And that's what we're faced with right now.
that's what
With
we're
the
doing
COVID
in the
is
times of
yeah,
that's what we're doing.
the enemy, the inner me.
Yeah,
Wow.
we some people can't stand being in their house. Last year people were getting depressed and the blues and challenged with, that much alone time and that much isolation. But it, in the times of COVID, put you in where you had to deal with the inner me. Okay,
Yeah.
you had to deal with the inner me of your marriage or your relationship. You had to deal with the inner me of your children and your family. You had to deal with inner me if you lived alone. Yeah. Some of us live like that all the time, though. So it wasn't, to me, it wasn't, I didn't feel isolated or, any of that stuff because I have a lot of inner me time as
Yeah.
a matter of practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
mhm.
If we're in contact with that, we're not going to have those feelings of we'll be able to find our center point or rebalance ourselves in those moments.
Yeah, and people came to that, they came to rebalance themselves, et cetera. But at first there was a kind of a stage of feeling, what do you call cabin fever or being on lockdown or,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
that. Hmm.
Oh, Daria.
Yeah, so everybody found their balance point. So I think COVID has been a transformer in that. A couple of months before I got COVID, a couple of months before they did the shutdown and, started changing airlines and all that, I did a NIPI ceremony and had a whole, I
Oh,
don't know what you call them, what do you call a collection of bats? Um,
I don't know, actually. I wonder about that. But there
collection of
were
bats,
a group of
a
bats.
collection of bats that yes, that were coming from, yeah. And so I was like, okay, and they're great transformation, you know,
Mm,
symbols. I mean, I said, I didn't know exactly at the moment what was coming, but it was coming.
yeah.
Transformation's coming. We're gonna
Uh,
be hanging upside down here. Um,
getting a new perspective.
New perspective. And in the times of COVID, that's also, when George Floyd was murdered and so many other things, incidents, and these were not new incidents, but what's new is the rapidity and the breadth of the awareness that got presented. The incidents were not new, but
Yeah.
the awareness level or information level was exponential in the times of COVID. Mhm.
Everything
So
was,
I think it,
yeah, close. No matter where it was like everything was close. to us.
Everything was close, and you were at home. You'd have to keep your television off and your radio off not to be aware of what was going on.
Yeah, we would have to be. That we had to be touched
He's
by
a
it.
graduate. Yes, you had to be touched by it. Yeah. He's a graduate of the same high school I went to. Did I tell
Oh,
you that?
no, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, well, he's much younger than me. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So he was there nowhere near the time that I was there. But I think he was born in 73. I was born in 49. So right. But it's a well-known um school in Houston, where I grew up.
Mhm. So it touches and burrows and turns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, Darya, do you have anything in particular that you'd like to close with? And how can people contact you, or how can people donate to your nonprofit
Oh, my
organization?
nonprofit. Oh, we have two new nonprofits. Okay. Well, you know what? um, they can write to me at the moment. We're developing websites, so we don't have the two nonprofits don't have their websites up. But
Okay.
if they wrote to me, I would put them. We put them on the list so that we inform them when the site is up, or they could. We could tell them how to send a check, um, or other ways to do the contribution. One of them is. Should I put? Should I write something somewhere? Is there some place I
Um,
can make something visible?
I can actually, if you want to say it and people can do it, and then I'll also put it on the video because I can't write on the video because we're on the Zoom. So
Okay.
Zoom is-
There's Dr. Darya at Sow Reap Futures. That's DRDARYA at SOW Futures. I mean, Sow Reap REAP Futures.org. That's
so
the group that's running. That's the nonprofit that where Circle America is under that group.
okay.
Uh-huh. Dr. Darya at and that's a new nonprofit. SOWREAP FUTURES, SoReapFutures.org. And the other one, if people want to be a part of or the Circle America conversations and stuff like that,
Great.
they could
That's
write there,
wonderful.
or if they want to make a donation, they can write there. And the other one is Lady of the Rock Spiritual Center, an interfaith spiritual center. Mhm. That's Dr. Darya, DRDARYA, at Lady of the Rock
Mm,
Spiritual Center, LadyofTheRock.
beautiful.
Lady of the Rocks. Well, like ladyoftherock.org.
.org.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And you are the Lady of the Rock.
Oh, Lady Rock is a seriously huge spirit on this land. Like,
You're like,
seriously, big
oh.
spirit.
Oh, yeah, I love
She's
it.
like this beacon light. She kind of
So,
looks like the Sphinx or something.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation and for your beautiful work and and for having this conversation with me today. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And I'm hoping that some of what you were sharing about the journey that you're taking with people in class and in healing and in movement and conversation, it's just opening, more and more doors. And taking everybody to that spot where they're, where they're bringing their gifts and they're open to see whatever is there to be remedied within them, or and prevent, and that can serve as a gift of prevention within them. That's what I would hope for all of us, that we remember, who we are collectively, that we remember being our wholeness, that we remember our wholeness. I do have a song about that. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Did you want to speak to that song before we close? I would love to close with that.
Well, I won't sing, maybe
If you want to
sing part of it. Yeah. I see a face in every blade of grass. I see a face in the red hot stones. I see a face in every blade of grass as we remember what we have known. Please remember me and the wholeness I can be. Please remember me and the wholeness we have known. I see a face each time the wind blows. I see a face when thunder rolls. I see a face each time the wind blows, as we remember what we have known. That's half the song, but you get the idea.
That's the best ever. Oh my God, I love it.
Well, one day I'll sing the whole thing for you.
Yeah. Oh, I will love that. Thank you so much. And Palamia, and thank you, and gracias. And I'm still learning some of the languages in my lineage. So I'll learn more ways to say thank you.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Ashe.